Here we go.
Okay, we are recording. Okay. This one should go last. Sorry, that's the hardest one. Oh no, sorry. Okay, so for those who were not here before, we started working in a document. That's the first thing we started doing. We started creating a table where basically our columns are different attributes that we want to project into some common format, basically as BOM in some cases. And in the columns, we have the attributes. In the rows, we have different package managers. We are making a gap analysis between what's available in each of those package managers. Is something that we can use to create an SBOM automatically, something that needs manual intervention, something that is ambiguous or not, or if completely lacking and there is this particular package manager doesn't allow you at all to publish data that we want to collect later. So the initial example we were working on, I will show here. So we have this, let me show here. We have package managers from different ecosystems, and we were looking into if they have a field for registering the license. So if they have it, we were looking into where it is, adding some reference to where to find the specification of how it's done. Another thing we want to do, for example, for licenses is looking into if this is an SPDX ID or not, if it is an SPDX expression, or if it is just a string, and it could be just a copy-paste of a whole license. So we started this analysis. We started looking into a lot of different package managers. Part of this working group work is to start adding columns to this. And the way we are looking at those columns in the last few weeks were we look into SPDX specification or we look into the Cyclone DX specification of SBOM, and we identified things in there that should be provided from package managers. Someone made a huge analysis of that for CPAN package manager in particular. I will share later the link. But this is one of the things we were working in the last few weeks. So something we wanted to decide, because the first meeting is how we are going to expand that table. We are going to handle that through PRs, or we are going to have some documents we are going to discuss here, and then we move it into GitHub or any other idea. Just opening the discussion.
Personally, I'm a fan of pushing it to GitHub just because then it's nicely version controlled and can use all the same tools. Currently, it's a markdown table, which is not particularly nice to work with. Maybe we could push it to, if it's going to be a table, to some actual format of other file with, documentation as markdown. And then I wonder if we'll end up with that one table being too massive. And so we should have, similar to that, we have like one for details about the license, that we end up having a similar one for every different kind of field that might be of interest from a package manager. Ow, sorry, I've got a puppy on my lap and he just bit me on the finger. He's tiny little puppy. So I guess it depends on how we want to tackle things. Maybe we should make like a list of potential things to tackle, and that we've kind of pushed the license one to be at the front. And then we could have some way of tracking, how much progress has been moved forwards on trying to get the stages of whatever this kind of like process are, from like discovery of going like, oh, here's how everything currently works or doesn't work, into then his lists of, we've moved into the like suggestions or some kind of proposal for package managers to reach alignment. The licensing one is kind of like a naturally easy one to do because it just shows everyone should end up with a SPDX identifier or similar. Whereas there are other fields, if we try to align everyone on how you declare dependencies in some normalized format, that may have a lot more challenges than just that we should agree on a standard for the string of license, because it's so much more mechanical.
Okay.
Jamie, I was more thinking of like CSV or something that GitHub would turn into a table as a separate file, maybe embed it. I don't know if that would be easy or not.
Yeah, that's a good shout. I hadn't considered CSV. Yeah.
CSV. Okay. So we can move that to CSV. Is there any other format that someone prefer over CSV? I think it's fine.
I mean, the thing that's widely used is JSON, and JSON's pretty bloated, so I'm not going to go running around advocating for it.
It's a table. It should be fine in a CSV.
Yeah, you're going to have a schema if you want to have JSON as well at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you end up with something quite nice there, but really, we don't want a schema for license. We just want everyone uses one field that is the same.
Okay, and you're proposing to have for each of these analysis for this of these attributes to have an independent document, right? I got it right?
I think so. It will make contributions easier because you're not clashing, and I can imagine working on a table that big with a lot of different pull requests, all trying to edit and update rows for the same package manager, but multiple different columns might be a little bit painful.
Yeah, I was thinking when I was writing the initial PR yesterday, I was thinking in having like individual documents with the details, but having one global one with a yes, no, that refers to that one. But we have only one so far, so no need to summarize yet. Someone is making my notes better. Thanks. Okay.
We also could do with some high level like overview on the repo that describes what is trying to happen. I don't think that's included in your initial PR, is it?
No, it's not. Because I didn't know what's going to be the process yet. So I didn't. Okay. Then the second question I had is, at what point, like how many attributes we want to analyze to get a good sense of how we are doing this before reaching some package manager to try our waters in that area? Do you think we should do it like immediately after we have the first one, or we should wait until we have 3, 4 and we know our process properly?
I was going to answer that with another question. So before we answer that, what other fields are we looking at? Just out of interest.
So we don't have a list. That's the discovery part. We have a few that we know we want for sure, like the license was the first one to show up. But the idea is on how to discover them is looking into the SPDX standard and the Cyclone DX standard and looking what mandatory attributes are required, making the translation backward to what the package manager provides, comparing against it, and see like, this is something that automatically I could transform, so there is nothing to do there, or there is a gap, like some, for example, in license, we found that some of them are ambiguous, like they provide multiple licenses separated by comma, and we don't know if they are an AND or a NOR expression, looking at that. So in those, we will have some recommendation because we cannot extract and automatically decide. But in those that there is, or if the field is completely missing, we found already some of those that they don't have license as a field, we will suggest adding a field that is a license. But we are not wanting to impose anything directly from the standard, from the SPDX or Cyclone. We just want to translate it into something that the package manager makes sense to provide. That's the way we were looking at it. And from that point of view, it's like some package managers, we know that license is a problem. So this is a good case to start exploring how we contribute to them. But maybe it makes sense to have like 2, 3 different fields already reviewed and looking into that, how our process work, and then go to package managers.
I'd be inclined to get some early feedback rather than waiting too long. Some package manager maintainers are going to be more proactive and interested and engaged than others. So we could potentially just reach out personally to a few that we know are good. Yeah, Alice?
So I'm working for the FreeBSD Foundation, and we're doing some active work on SBOMs and vulnerability management, which includes a lot of stuff relating to this. So I think we might be able to help with that.
Excellent.
Thanks. That would be great. Like, yeah, something we could decide maybe is like choosing 2 or 3 package managers and in the first instances go with those and not trying to work with them all.
I mean, we also like there are a few package managers that have already got like a field called licenses, which returns an array or an SPDX expression of, there's no need to contact them because they're actually doing the right thing already. Whereas they might be doing something else that isn't. So, for different fields, they're going to have different levels of engagement for different package managers.
Yes.
So I feel like maybe we can kind of go like and look at the licensing table and go, what we would really like to eventually to be able to do is to have a column in each table that's like, here is the discussion or issue or pull request that is happening over on that package manager around any changes that we are going to propose to align them to make them, easier to work with. So you could kind of have like a contact for each package manager that are interested. Not all of them, CocoaPods has been kind of frozen recently it's just no longer being developed. So there's no point in reaching out to them because they're going to be like, well, we're not changing anything. It's done. But maybe we end up with another file which is like the package managers and the points of contact to those package managers.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, the last thing I had in today's agenda was what will be the next attribute to look at. I know licenses still can be looked at further, but if someone wants to start with a follow one, which one you want to go for?
I was just looking through my list, and the one that jumped out to me, which I in ecosystems call repository URL, is basically the like where is the source of this package, is probably the next most useful. And the one that like exists across most of them, because everything after that kind of is going to go into the weeds a little bit. I can produce a similar output as we got for that licenses table from ecosystems. I feel like when I'm looking at my database schema going like almost every field in here that is not like created automatically by me is a candidate. But there's like some of them are more obvious than others, especially when you align it with, maybe we should take all of the mandatory fields from the SBOM and Cyclone standards as well and put them into a document in this repo so that we can do a cross-reference there.
Yeah, I think those crosswalks can be very useful.
There's a weird crosswalk between the two SBOM standards as well, right?
Yeah, it's impedance mismatches all over the place.
Okay.
I wonder if, as we have Alice here, if there is, if Alice already has anything like top of mind around trying to align with the SBOM standards in, what is currently the FreeBSD package manager.
Yeah, we've picked SPDX3, the light specification. If I've understood the question correctly.
And then are you kind of looking at the data that is available in, is it ports?
Yeah.
To go like the manifest file for this package in ports has a license field that maps onto the SPDX license field or not?
I think so.
Yet?
I'm not the person technically implementing it. So I thought I literally only saw this call was happening 10 minutes ago. So I was like, wait, that sounds interesting. So I jumped in, but I thought I might ask a developer to come along to maybe a future one or to get in touch. I'd have to double check exactly what the implementation would be.
I actually know the answer for that.
Okay.
Nice.
Well, when I prepared my talk a few months ago, like the two package managers that are closest to ideal for me are CPAN and FreeBSD ports. One of the things that FreeBSD ports is actually missing is that the attribute for license is ambiguous. It doesn't follow the SPDX standard on the expressions. So it has this situation where you can separate by comma a bunch of license IDs, and you don't know if they are a NOR or a NAND. They are not validated at any point. But there is a license field, and most people fill it correctly. Most. but it's an open string. You can put whatever you want there.
I mean, there's a whole world of hurt coming at some point where every field in a package manager is a prompt that can be fed into an LLM via an MCP server. So everything's a string and everything's a name. It makes very painful for the future. When you say that it's just a string, it's like,
what I mean
looking
is
at the validation or some kind of like check somewhere along the line to ensure that it fits within something, right? Like if you think about versions or version ranges as well, to go like, oh, we're validating that this is a version number, is a whole can of worms in itself, right? Every one of these fields is a can of worms. That's kind of the working group is maybe if it's going to have a logo, it is cans of worms. But being able to map them out and like then kind of point to like, oh, it'd be great if we could, align some of these to try and smooth some of those bits out so that you don't have to then go away and write some crazy code that's just specifically to transform that one package manager into to make it fit with all of the others.
Yeah, in the case of FreeBSD, what I would suggest is not a change on code because the field is a string, but a change on the porter's manual where there is a specification of what you should put there and saying like, here we want a SPDX spec. Like that will be it for me. I don't think it's a need on validation or something like that. Even that the validation give with the SPDX tool should be pretty easy, like from a point of view of consumer, at least you can validate it as consumer. Like you can open the string, see is a valid SPDX expression or not. I don't know, someone has any other topic? Otherwise, we are good.
Yeah, we don't have to have a long meeting the first time. I think look forward to continuing this discussion in some more detail.
Okay, I'm going to send in. Hey, Salve is raising the hand. Hi.
Hello. Sorry I missed the start of the meeting, so I'm just listening in. My name is Salve Nilsen. I'm one of the guys in the CPAN security group, and I've been over the last 2 years or so trying to put together some data and an overview that may be useful for you guys to inform some ideas or something. I showed this to Demian a while back, and he reached out, and so I'm thinking, let's see if this is useful. Would you be interested in me showing you what I made? It's an overview of metadata in the open source supply chains, basically, but it's a little bit CPAN from a CPAN's perspective and from a first principles type of perspective. So I'm trying to get a complete overview that is relevant for our ecosystem.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So I was thinking the place to start might be a Slack convo, but we could talk now as well.
So just for you to know, before you joined, Andrew shared your document in the chat.
Oh, you did.
Yeah.
Okay.
If it's the one that supply chain-sbom.md, I'm a big fan of that document.
Oh,
Me
okay.
too.
Thank you. Yeah. So yeah, that's my work. I would love if you guys are interested to make this one more useful or use it as a basis for your own work. I'm happy with that. And it is not complete, and it needs some tender loving care. It kind of has stalled a little bit since it's mostly been me working on it on behalf of my group. But if this seems useful for you, then I would love to collaborate with you guys on making something more relevant out of it. Though my perspective is mostly to try to get a complete overview, and the reason for that is since our ecosystem is a language ecosystem that is packaged itself on different Linux distributions and for different platforms, both Windows and so there's a matrix of all kinds of use cases and environments it has to work. It means that we kind of have to make everything work for everybody, which requires us to have a full overview. And so we can't pick any specific values and look what's the minimum. We have to kind of support everything. So I don't know if this is in sync with what you guys intend to do. So you'll have to tell me.
Yes, I think it's super useful, and maybe we can do for the next meeting to have a section where you walk us over this. But right now, like everyone is leaving because we are in half hour and.
Okay. There was on half-hour meeting scheduled. Okay.
No, it wasn't 45, but like everyone had something to do starting at 30. So.
All right.
But I think if you are here on next meeting, or it would be great to have a talk about that document and your view of how your different personas work on the different areas and stuff like that we didn't talk about.
Okay, cool. I'm happy to do so. Do you guys have a public calendar file that I could use and put into my calendar? Because I was not aware that you have scheduled anything, and it didn't show up in my
Are you in that
CHAOSS
Slack
calendar.
channel?
Yes.
Yes.
Just before you joined or were added, there's Elizabeth shared a link which produces a iCal file. I'll just repost it at the bottom of Slack.
Yeah, just for references, same hour as today, every 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's actually crashing with what the CPAN security group meeting that we usually have, and it's an exact same time. And the only reason I came in now 15 minutes early is because matrix.org, where we usually have our meetings, is having database issues. So we basically canceled our meetings. But okay, I'll add the link to my calendar, and we'll see if we can adjust our schedule somehow. We usually move our meeting around a little bit depending on availability of people. So
we are going to still have conversations in the Slack channel, and we are going to have this GitHub repository where we post our work and the meetings, and there's going to be recordings. So hope we can figure out a time that works. But if for some reason some meetings you cannot come, like we have all these other resources to share.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, hopefully we can be quite async with the process. I find your document very helpful. I mean, it goes into a lot more detail than most. And I think a lot of people are just seeing SBOMs as, like you just eject one at some point, or you press download from GitHub and then job done. Which totally glosses over all the details.
That's the frustration I had when I started diving into this. Most people had a very tunnel vision of what I have to do, and the only thing they look at is what's downstream of them, like what a user's requirement or authorities or something, but they don't talk about where it comes from, and they don't think about open source at all. Like, who is in charge of this particular field? They don't ask that question, so they don't reach out to the ecosystems and to ensure that information is available, for example. So this is my attempt at trying to solve or make to try to address some of the fundamental and structural issues in metadata availability. Because right now,
to give you a bit of context, I'm working on a project called Ecosystems, which maps and indexes package metadata from about 36 different package managers.
Awesome. I love that, Sad.
So I'm pulling in CPAN stuff already, and okay.
Sorry,
Alright.
but I have to go too.
Yeah, all right.
See,
Damien originally kind of proposed that there are lots of different ways that different package managers provide these different fields, and they're not always very easy to normalize across them, or some of them just don't have them at all. What I found really interesting in your document is there's a lot of, especially the less required things, but sometimes they're required for some roles and others not, is that I see a lot of people building the tools that will get you the basics, and then we'll just gloss over the the extra bits. Especially, I mean, Cyclone is pushing a lot harder on some of the kind of like the more second order details. That I'm like, where are people planning to get this data from? Because they'll get rate limited by GitHub so quickly if they try to collect that for 1,000 packages. Like, it's just not going to happen. So ecosystems is like in a place where it can provide some of this in a slightly normalized way, but it would be nice to be able to push that back up into the registries a bit more.
I don't think it's only. Yeah, I think you sorry to give you some pushback here, but you are not making good enough demands. This is not a nice to have. This is completely necessary. And downstream, the requirements are now from market authorities in Europe in 2027. And if you don't have the correct data, you can get fines for not having it complete or correct, or if you make up something. So we need to get the authoritative upstream sources involved here. And that means we have to have each and every package ecosystem out there actually ask for it from their users when they're uploading something to the ecosystem, or when they publish something, or however you inject something into a language ecosystem, so in the form of a tarball or you publish anything, the data needs to be already correct from the original source at that point, and then you can look at it downstream and create information. And what you are doing is fantastic, but it is not a primary source. You are not a primary source. You are a secondary source. And while that is a very good intermediate solution, it's not the one we need. We need to actually be able to say with confidence that this particular security contact address for that particular component is actually the thing it is, and we know it because it's the owner of that package who has decided what the email address is and where they want to accept.
Absolutely.
And there is absolutely no way around that. We have to have that one as that level of details as a goal, and nothing else would ever work.
Yeah, and I'm not too like ecosystems is not targeting like trying to insert itself into any of this CRA process. In general, my goal with ecosystems is usually to help people find stuff within open source, and to be able to improve it and action, by having build a tool or a query that works for any one package manager, but then you can use it for all of them, because there's also like subtly different, or some of them have terrible ways of getting data out. CPAN is really nice because you have that massive Elasticsearch instance that's like, we can query almost anything in any way you like. Most of
MetaCPAN is brilliant. Yeah, the API there is fantastic.
But then there's I'm looking through and I'm like, there are some things here which are not going to be able to be frozen into an SBOM, and still like you need to check them after the fact to be able to go like, is this still true? And then like, where do you go to find that? Or how do you know if that thing was even still there? There's lots of stuff that's very interesting. And also I worry for individual small maintainers to just be crushed by companies making the same demands over and over, that they're like, well,
exactly the same worries, and that's why have been looking at lately to find a good template for creating an open source steward organization like the one is envisioned by the European Commission. That could support maintainers with that particular problem, because right now having somebody who can take the brunt attack from downstream users and say, yeah, we'll have the conversation on behalf of this maintainer and handle the attestation to ensure that, for example, due diligence has been performed for a specific release, and do that on an organized manner on behalf of whatever open source maintainers who wants a service like that. I think that's probably the best solution for.
Yeah, I've been talking with Open Source Collective about potentially them being able to provide that kind of thing if the project, because they can act as a fiscal sponsor, they're also in a position to provide that, but they're like, that could be really expensive as an org to do without then like charging the individual orgs, and that produces all kinds of weird knock-on effects.
Yeah, no, I would think Open Source Collective isn't a bad place to put a steward organization, since they are in the business of funding. But the Cyber Resilience Act spells it out that the steward organization is supposed to, quote unquote, have a main role in supporting. But what that means, what main is, could be anything. Yeah. So and vagueness in laws is just a signal from the lawmaker to say to the people implementing the law, or the users of the law, or the subjects of the law, to figure it out yourself. You figure out what that means, and then it has to match to what your reality, in a sense. But if there can only be one main role. So if the project is completely self-sufficient, but they don't want to do the security-related stuff that the Cyber Resilience Act requires, then they could outsource that bit to an organization and say, you are my steward, you fix our problems, and then that organization would be, for example, take care of the funding work like that, for example, by charging money to the users or the businesses that require this work done.
Yeah.
So it's still possible to do, though. So, but
the other tool that I was thinking about last week, I was at the Open Source Summit. Again, thinking about individual maintainers and smaller projects, but would potentially also work for larger projects if you're imagining that there are thousands of end user companies that are going to be potentially contacting them, is a form of CRM that is specifically like connecting users and maintainers, and is able to kind of help them keep track of and like manage communications a little bit better, because currently maintainers have no idea who, like, other than GitHub issues, they're not really, like aware of who is using their stuff and how they're using it. Potentially a tool like that, not just a straight up CRM, but something a bit more focused, might be helpful for them to stay on top of that kind of influx of communication that can be coming in.
You know what? That's a decent idea, but it's a centralized one, which makes me think this will not scale well because of a bunch of reasons. Like, for example, or even if it becomes visible and you are a reasonably popular module, suddenly you have 1,000 users who can actually reach you immediately. And that's something which doesn't sound desirable for the maintainer. Even if you get relevant information.
Yes, it's going to be very hard to paper over you can't technical solution your way around a lot of these oncoming problems.
So the approach I've been taking, I'm the one on the CPAN security group too, who basically spent some time on this stuff. So the approach I've been taking has been to see if this can be done in a distributed and community-focused or cultural way, which means that basically means how can we produce useful metadata for the downstream users to make decisions on how to contribute or how to interact, even if they don't have an ongoing one-to-one synchronous relationship that you would have if you are in the same chat room or something like that. Which means that you can still find ways of supporting when you want to or need to or have the real resources to do that. And one of the main efforts I've been doing to do this is through the Cyclone DX project on creating a specification for a machine-readable sustainability metadata file. So basically where you can dump a JSON file or a YAML file or something called maybe contributing.yaml into your directory, and in it you can spell out what kind of needs does this project have. Not just what kind of support it offers, but what kind of support it needs. That's not out there. Like right now, you have a couple places where you have funding information, like in NPM. But like if you want to have somebody who has a specific skill set or want to organize meetups or write some documentation, you cannot just call out to say, this is the type of contributions I'm specifically looking for right now. And the spec has just like basically 2 weeks ago been accepted to become part of the ECMA standardization track that Cyclone DX is having with the technical group 54. So we get our own little project there, TC4, I think it's called. So that means if all goes well and people get involved, we can actually get eventually get metadata to the main manufacturers, to the integrators, to show them that this is how you can support the things you depend on. And they can themselves make a decision, and that means we can at least get the resources. We don't need everybody to support. We just need enough people to support so that it becomes sustainable. So for me, this is a distribution solution that just is solved with access to metadata. And that's one of the things I'm trying to do. The other one is just to get an idea of what needs to be done. There's a CHAOSS community person raising their hand now.
Yeah, it's me, Elizabeth.
Elizabeth's going to kick us out.
No,
Sorry.
I'm not. I actually had a question about that. I was wondering if there would be a need just on top, like a layer on top of what you're talking about, Salve, for guidance. Like I'm just picturing a maintainer maybe doesn't even know what they need next or what would give them the greatest benefit, their biggest impact. So I'm wondering if that is part of kind of your grand plan as how do we help people figure out what they need and not only just how to get it, but how do they, prioritize and all of these things. I'm just curious.
Yeah, it's been so nice with Stephen and the others who've been contributing in that project. We have a cunning plan actually, which makes me smile. The specification in there, what we've been talking about is to make it so that each type of activity that you might want to ask for help with is clearly enumerated in such a way that you also can create issues tags on whatever issue tracker you have in order to show what current issues that are on the table so you can show this to your end users to immediately show what kind of contributions they can offer. So basically, by just having a field there with a link to the issue tracker that shows the tasks that you want solved, directly filtered out for that particular topic where you want help, then you can just lower the bar of entry for contributions just like almost to as far as you can get it. Like you immediately know if there's something you can help or help with. And for me, that's one of the ways to make it more visible for end users. But when it comes to make it more visible for the maintainers of what options they could have, I think that could be solved by tooling, but it probably requires just outreach and visibility and giving talks at conferences and stuff like that. So, but the base idea here is just that as far as it's possible, we don't have free text fields where you just tell it, I want this. No, it's enumerated keys that people can understand and that are structured in such a way that you can expect them, and you can write tooling that relies on them in such a way that you can make it visible, that you as a maintainer have the options to also ask for help by dropping this file with these keys listed in a specific way. And to me, that's at least a step in the right direction.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. I'm just thinking it would be so interesting to do research. If you had standardized data like that, you could do research on, something like documentation. So what impact does documentation have? Well, documentation can wipe out all of these other issues that you would have needed a contributor for. So I really love what you all are doing. I think it's super interesting, and look forward to seeing how that plays out for sure.
We still need contributors. Like cheerleaders is great, but contributors, that's what we actually need. Like any other open source project, contribution is the lifeblood of any open source project. And so if you want to make sure this happens, then please find ways to contribute. That's one I can say, because I also like what we're doing. But we're like 2 or 3 people who have been semi-regularly doing things. And while we are now entering this into an ECMA work group or technical group, or whatever it's called, and I hope that will create some visibility around it. It's not enough. We need more. So, and both of you are, of course, super welcome to step up and help and be part of the discussion. Or if you can help some other way, that would be brilliant. And that also goes for all the document I've been working on. It's like this is meant to be a common good.
Yeah, I've been referencing that. And I've sent it to a lot of different people as like, oh, which of these fields does ecosystems have some data in? And like, are there bits that we just don't have anything for? Like if you were to try and fill in the gaps, which bits are there? Some of them are easy, some of them are hard, some of them are focused purely on, like enterprise closed source users that would never pop up in open source, and so it's like, oh, I'm going to skip those. There's also a kind of like, it's so hard to change package managers because they have no resources and they're so legacy and so important that often it's much easier to build something secondary, because trying to get you need lots of funding just to push to be able to pay for someone to spend 6 months to actually do all the work, and then the knock-on effects of doing the work in terms of support to keep that alive is very hard. And we can't look to GitHub anymore to do anything because they've got very distracted by AI and don't really do anything to support any of this space anymore.
I think also GitHub is the wrong place to do this, because it's it's not. It's one of those centralized places, and making GitHub, for all the good it's been doing over the last decade plus, it's still a single point of failure, and it's just one management or ownership change in Microsoft, and suddenly everything becomes a problem. And we know how those stories tend to go, and it's just a lot of pain in the ass. And just like, let's not open that door. It's not. We can do it in a distributed manner, where we keep on allowing people the freedom to innovate with their own thing. Yes, it means it's a bit of a more messy marketplace with lots of different options, but that's one of the things that have made open source and the internet in general resilient to problems. So we create our own. We create issues of a much harder category by buying into centralized services. Then, so why not just not?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
right, I need to go. I've got another meeting in a few minutes. It's really good chatting, and hopefully some of this conversation can continue in the Slack, or we get the meeting every 2 weeks.
And please, if you find anything wrong or weird, or I know for a fact there are weird things in my document, just to give you a heads up here, there are weird things on purpose in there in order to see if somebody reads it.
So tricky. I love it.
There are. I have put some feelers into my document to see if anybody reacts, and the people I'm looking for are people who care enough to react. And until now, it's not been a lot of people.
I like there's a comment column that's full of emojis that is quite good near the bottom of that document.
Yeah, that needs some changes, because there's a perspective around SBOM censorship or field censorship that I've recently learned about that is different than I thought it was. So a couple of those emojis will disappear, because apparently they are meaningful, but we'll see how it goes. It kind of depends on what the final state of the CHAOSS update to the minimum elements document is going to look like.
Okay.
All right. Thanks for the chat.
Yep. See y'all later. Have a good one.
Bye.
See you. Bye-bye.